Back again. That was over quicker than I expected. Let's give people a couple of seconds and share this again there over. And Telegram, can I share that? Hopefully this doesn't close out. There's what's happening. I just quickly going to share this there over. Boom, there we go, guys. Apologies there if that disconnected for a sec, but we're back. Just quickly shared the link to this over in the Telegram group. Here again, just outside of the fucking courts. They call this, the name of it, Criminal Court of Justice. But like, there's no justice here. There genuinely is no justice there. If a person's getting criminalised for the use of a plant for a medicine, the plant that's its benefits are well established in scientific literature. You know, just because of how it's been burdened, held back by the prohibition of cannabis, that's about the only reason why there isn't like even stronger evidence into the benefits of it. So as I say, justice didn't prevail here today. It was ignorance. Ignorance prevailed. Met with my legal team, the solicitor and barrister. Despite my best efforts, sat in a room with them for just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, arguing the different pathways that I wanted to take it, arguing, how my rights have been violated here and how this is not justified, that there is no justification for my fucking rights to be denied by these courts. But this is despite my best efforts, the only instruction my barrister could give me, the only advice he could give me, was to withdraw the charges, that most likely the judge was going to either uphold them or make them more severe. And he was saying, he could. The only argument he could make is on the severity of the charges, get them reduced, which is not really what I wanted. Wanted to set a legal precedent there, take this to the High Court. But he said, in my case here as it stands, I don't have any point of law to argue in order to argue the constitutional side of this, argue that my rights have been violated and that there's no justification, that this law needs to be repealed. So yeah, what a kick in the bollocks. An absolute kick in the bollocks. Justice doesn't prevail at all. I was hoping right would win over here, like what's right. What happened was not right, As I say, coming in here, the hardest part of this was going to be keeping my mouth shut. That was always the hardest part of this. I liked representing myself because I was able to speak directly with the judge, but it came with it the difficulty of understanding the legal system, not truly understanding the law. I never claimed to be a legal expert at all. I just knew what was happening wasn't right. That it wasn't right. It was wrong, and I knew that, and I felt like that was enough. I thought that would have been enough. I just felt like, our constitutional rights, that they're there for us to be used, to benefit us, to stand up for when there's tyranny there by the state, and this is tyrannical. Casa de Strugus on about their person growing a couple of plants for themselves, and they're having their kids taken off them. That's not right. I genuinely thought what was right would have prevailed, would have won out over what was wrong. But boy was I wrong. So as I say, it was my case was called inside in the court. The charges were going to be withdrawn, but I made damn right. I got right up there in the eye of the judge. I walked right up there front of that court when my name was called. I don't know if I even had to because the charges were being withdrawn. But I made sure the judge seen me, just wondering, as I always do, is kind of how they're going to receive this, what's wrong with this? There's nothing wrong with this, but she took offence to it. She asked me, is this appropriate attire for court? And I said, it is, Judge. I said, this is my court suit. These are my pride colours. I'm standing up for my rights. And I commented, I made sure I got it in there. I said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I believe that justice is prevailing and my rights aren't being upheld. But that's the wrong court to be doing it in anyway. as soon as I started talking, like the judge she asked me the question, is this appropriate attire? And she asked, I was going to answer, so I wanted to give her my answer. Um, and as I was, there was a bit of uproar from my barrister next to me. He was like, Martin, shut up, Martin, stop talking to her. And I was like, but she asked me a question, I'm going to answer the lady. Um, and she wasn't happy at all. I was like, I don't mean to offend you by this. And she says, well, it does. I was, well, I apologise if it does, but you're being easily offended by this. I was on about how I'm standing up for my rights, and these are my pride colours. There's nothing wrong with it. She said if I don't shut up, I'm going to be done for contempt of court. She didn't like the fact that I got in there, that comment, that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. She didn't like that comment at all. And as I said, she threatened me then at that point with contempt of court. And that's what they do. They want to shut you up because they know what you're saying is right. They don't want you to be able to defend yourself at all in court. They don't want you, as somebody was saying there earlier in the Telegram, to challenge the establishment. They are establishment. They don't want to challenge the establishment. Like, this is beneficial to the boys inside that we're supposed to be defending me. In reality, they don't want to take away what's bread and butter for them. In Amsterdam, they're saying, somebody commented it there earlier, 80% is what they think is going to be the reduction in the inefficiency in the work that's been done by the guard or the police over there in regards to the drug possession, minor drug offences. They believe that there's going to be an 80% reduction in the inefficiency of the police. Can't remember how it was exactly worded, but that's a major increase if they're able to decrease those minor fucking drug cases by 80%. That's a lot. And at the same time, economically improving the areas, creating jobs, cleaning up the supply, having a regulated supply of cannabis. It's a no-brainer. Like as I said, there's no justification for what happened here today. What happens here 5 days of the fucking week, pretty much. People getting brought in here for as little as €2 worth of cannabis. Like there's been cases like €2 and €3 worth of cannabis, a couple of specks of cannabis inside in a little baggie, and people are getting done for it. I can't understand how this has bloody prevailed for so long. I really can't. Jesus, had I known like this was going to take so fucking long to be fighting. Almost 20 fucking years been fighting this. First got stopped and searched at the age of 17. As I said, it just never sat right with me from that point. I started down the road of activism, of wanting to challenge what wasn't right, the injustice there. And here I am, going on 36 now this year, so almost fucking 20 years later. It's crazy. I always thought, like, justice is going to prevail. What's right will always win over what's wrong. When it's challenged, boy, was I fucking wrong. Citizens Assembly calling for a repeal of this, and yet still policymakers sitting their fucking hands. Highlighted within that recommendation by the Citizens Assembly is the need for better access to cannabis, reduction in the barriers there in accessing it for medical reasons, but no, injustice prevails. They're going to continue restricting people's access to this medicine. They're going to continue inflicting tyranny on the citizens of Ireland, denying us our rights, denying us our bodily integrity, our privacy, and equality before the law. There's other patients here being prescribed cannabis, other patients across Europe being prescribed cannabis, but us, the Irish citizens, no, we're not allowed. That's that there, and says 0.6 grams then would not leave me alone. Yeah, that's it. I got caught with a little bit of hash that time when I was 17, and before I was 21, I'd say I was stopped and searched close to 100 times. Caught in possession 5 or 6 times in that period. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what went on. Yeah, Humble Gardener saying you were treated with disrespect, Martin. I'm not surprised. It was disrespectful by the judge, the comment negatively on what is effectively, pride colours. That's all it was. This is something that represents the cannabis culture. These colours have been long associated with the use of cannabis. Rastafarians, they make no secret of the fact that the cannabis is a part of their lifestyle, part of their caring for their health, and a part of as well exercising their religious freedoms as well. But the judge took offence to this. It's not a proper court attire, which I agree with her. You know what I mean? That's the whole reason I'm wearing it, is to overcome that stigma that's there. That this isn't proper court attire. Why isn't it? It's just a cannabis leaf. That cannabis leaf represents a plant that's incredibly beneficial to us. You want to talk about fucking the benefits of this plant. To build a building like this out of hempcrete. It's a concrete made from hemp. You know what I mean? That's what that is. Cannabis leaf is also the hemp plant. So shaming that judge and the ignorance of her, that to comment negatively on something that can be so beneficial to man. It's prohibition, which she's upholding, is the thing that should be ashamed of. It's not proper policy. With proper clothes, proper policy. You're affecting people's lives in here and what you're doing inside in that court. But she only cares about like fucking some clothes that I put on me, some colours that I wear, a fucking representation of a leaf of a plant. She's more bothered by that. She's not bothered by the fact that policy that she's upholding made a Cork woman have to walk from Cork up to Dublin in order to highlight the struggle in accessing this plant for her sick child. And rest in peace, Ava. Like, it's so wrong what was done then. Rob that precious time that mother had, that little time that she had with her child. Who would have known that she would have passed away in the time that which she did? That mother was hoping that she would have lived for a lot longer than that. But unfortunately, no. That mother was made walk from Cork to Dublin in order to highlight her struggle. I continued to support that mother. Hashtag Talk to Vera was what we were doing that time in the civil disobedience campaign, planting those cannabis plants. It's just messed up, really. It really is messed up. So I've been told 100 grand I'll need to bring a High Court challenge in order to exercise my rights around my constitution. So 100 grand, if anybody's got 100 grand sitting around out there, maybe we'll get an old GoFundMe or something like that up there. But in reality, look, if you're going to bring a High Court challenge, look, this has taken me a couple of years just to get to the Circuit Court of Appeal, only to be told, there's no point of law to argue here except severity of the punishment. Look for a reduction in it. That there's no way of bringing it to the higher court through this case in particular. So the barrister said 100 grand plus in order to bring a High Court challenge. I don't have that lying around. I know I've been told that in the past. Go do a GoFundMe in order to bring that challenge. Daily Talk are saying it there as well. Absolutely do a GoFundMe. I'm not too sure the ins and outs of that. If you're raising 100 grand through a GoFundMe, what's the percentages there that these companies are going to take out of it and all that crack. Maybe there's some way in which we can do it where every cent goes to the cause. I'm not a legal expert or whatever. If there's other people out there want to take part in this, want to help with the fundraiser and get it going, that'd be amazing. I was saying in the last video, I'm incredibly burnt out. I've got other issues there that do need my time, my energy, my ability to deal with stress. I can't be burning the candle on both ends at the moment. So when I am able, when my health is much fucking better and all of that, I'll certainly get right at the forefront of this campaign and fight it every step of the way. But unfortunately, at this moment, I do just have to take the foot off the pedal a little bit and just focus on my own health just a little bit more. So again, that's just one of the reasons. That's the reason why there hasn't been a lot of streams coming out for myself, why there hasn't been interviews as much as I want to be. Like, as much as that actually helps me, like, if I can deal with this, I do just have to, as I say, stop burning the candle on both ends. Daily Talker says he believes GoFundMe takes nothing, but not sure. Yeah, that'd be cool if it doesn't. That'd be class. Get her out there, it's worth a shot. freedom comes behind the paywall, guys. Yeah, that's it. You know what I mean? It does. And even then, you know what I mean? Even if you raise the money, if we raise the money, look what's happening with the CBD cases in the high courts. They're just kicking the can down the road. They're doing what policymakers are doing. The establishment, as I say, the courts are the establishment. They don't want to challenge the establishment. They don't want to challenge the Misuse of Drugs Act as it stands, as I said, despite the fact that the Citizens' Assembly is calling for a repeal of it, despite other European states are repealing their Misuse of Drugs Act, opening up access for people even around recreational use, but more importantly for health reasons, medical use. But yeah, despite these things, ignorance prevails. That they continue with these failed policies, these unjustified policies. As I say, I really thought justice would prevail, but as I said, boy, was I wrong. Yeah, he says your health is your wealth. Yeah, that's for sure. You know, I've got 4 kids at home, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 17-year-old, and they need all of my energy at the moment, especially more sort of 17-year-old than the younger ones. So hopefully we can just deal with those things and just have a fucking less stressful life for a while. Okay, everyone, thanks very much for everybody's support. Jacob B says, meanwhile, tour flight away from Ireland, Spain. I pay for my weed by direct debit card in a cannabis club. It's insane. Yeah, I've been over there. I went over to Spanibus there last year. And it was absolutely amazing. It's just crazy how different it can be by just getting on a plane flight less than 2 hours away, or just over 2 hours away to Barcelona. It's just so backwards. Like, there's no justification for this. Like the ignorance there of that judge just commenting on my clothes alone. Like, she was offended by what I was wearing. It's like, come on, a bit of respect there. Why is it that you're wearing these? You know, you're not a bit intrigued at all? Like, no. She was like, how dare you offend me? How dare you come in and challenge my views? Do you know, my court, and disrespect that you should be wearing a suit? Do you know, she want me to wear a wig there like the rest of the boys as well. No, I have more important things to be doing than outside of fucking wearing wigs and all of these silly things that they do in there. Absolutely silly. Crazy that wearing a wig is more important than justice. You know? I can't understand it. I really can't. Yeah, Humble Gardener, I was reading that one there. You're treated with disrespect, and I'm not surprised. They're so slow here, and we are the ones suffering. It's joke at its best. Yeah, it really is a joke. You know, that's what the barrister was saying, is that my presentation there in the court was going to show that I don't care. But I was like, that couldn't actually be further from the truth. I was like, I'm putting my life on the line here. I've got drug-resistant epilepsy at the moment. The stress of this could take me out. You know, each one of these seizures I have, they're the type of seizure where you're much more at risk of SUDEP, which is sudden unexpected death from epilepsy. And when you have drug-resistant epilepsy, when it's not under control, your risk of that is through the roof. And I risked that there today. I cycled in here on my bike. You know, if I was to suffer a seizure coming in here on my bike, hit the floor, very easily going to be dead from that, you know. But cannabis is bad for you. I was like, come on, seriously. It can reduce my stress. If that's the only thing it does, that's going to do wonders for a reduction of my seizures, because right now my stress levels are through the roof, not only because of this, but other things happening outside, you know. Yeah, Mad Dog, I will. I'm going to keep on smiling. I'm going to back there, have a nice day with my kids and my family. Make the most of that. He says they have a child with cystic fibrosis, and I'm trying to see if cannabis can help her, and they won't look into it. Yeah, more than likely, there probably is some benefits to be seen there. But because of the ignorance that's there, the barriers that are there in around the research and looking at the benefits of this, you know, we won't know for a bit longer, unfortunately. Yeah, Bobby, man, I look forward to that little party we're going to have there in 2 weeks. It's definitely going to help take a weight off anyway. It's going to be much needed. Mr. Finnegan says, peace and love and fluffy bunnies, brother. Nice one, Mr. Finnegan, dude. Keep your messages, Bobby says there. Johnny White. Their brains are getting no oxygen through those wigs. Yeah, that's it. Like, just that's exactly what I'd said. Not that they're getting no oxygen, but that they're the ones who don't care. That's what I'd said to the barrister. He goes, look, you think that the judge is gonna believe that I don't care, but I said, look, I believe that you don't care, that justice doesn't matter to you, that you can only argue this, and that you're not willing to try to find a point in case law. I had to fucking prove the point in law to them, despite the fact that they're the legal experts. I had to prove it. I was doing my homework, and it just wasn't enough. I didn't make a good enough argument in the case law, the point of law, for that the barrister to fight the case. So I could argue that they don't care, that he wasn't willing. He just wanted me to withdraw the charge, that was going to be the easiest thing there for him, so he could just get on with his day, be home by lunchtime, well paid, take his wig off and all of that, and live his life where they're not going to be subject to the same persecution under the Misuse of Drugs Act, because most likely they don't get stopped and searched. And they're most likely probably using the cocaine, Cannabis wouldn't be their first point choice. More than likely, a little bit of cocaine there with the old a bit of whiskey or whatever at the fancy bars, because no doubt these guys consume their drug of choice in more well-established communities, or venues, if you want, more finer venues. Aye, sir, big buds, I shall, says Mr. Finnegan. Bobby says, I can't wait to have a sit-down and conversation with you. Likewise, Bobby, man, it's going to be so good to sit down there, man, and pass the old bong around, pass the dubs around. It's going to be a great catch-up. Much needed, Rasher's got all the pleasure there the last time. So delighted to be able to share in a little bit of that this time. So yeah, unless anybody else there wants to get in a couple of comments before we start signing off, I'm going to hop on my bike in a couple of minutes there and start freaking head out of the city again. Bobby says cocaine and whiskey sounds like a good time. Yeah, no doubt it can be alright. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I definitely enjoyed it before. The only times actually interesting that I tried cocaine was when I was drunk. Most likely probably wouldn't be a drug that you give a go sober, maybe. At least not in my experience anyway. I never kind of said yes to cocaine when I was sober. When I think of it, most of the times I actually encountered cocaine was probably when we were out at the pub anyway. Yeah, so cocaine and whiskey, popular choice more than likely for these legal guys here. Yeah, Bobby saying drunk is a prerequisite for cocaine. Yeah, in a lot of cases it is, but it's crazy, even there, because most people will consume it out while drinking, because some people actually consume it because it keeps them sober. That they stay more in touch with their senses by consuming a little bit of cocaine with the drink. But in reality, they don't need to actually consume drink with the cocaine. If they didn't have to hide their cocaine use under drink, it'd be much safer. Cocaine and alcohol, when consumed together, actually produce a compound. What's it called? Jesus, it's eluding me right now. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think it up. Somebody out there probably knows. But when cocaine and alcohol are taken together, they produce a far more toxic compound for the liver, I believe, and they shouldn't really be consumed together. But as Bobby says, whiskey and cocaine can be a fun time. That compound equals a good time, says Bobby. Maybe so, but not for your liver, dude. I just believe that if it was regulated, I'd imagine better educated consumers would probably choose just to enjoy a little bit of cocaine and maybe enjoy some fucking alcohol-free beverages alongside of that, or maybe even just lower alcohol beverages. Who knows? But I do believe that better education through regulation would certainly be a win-win for everyone. Susie Q, free to weed. It's long overdue, guys, but unfortunately, as I say, justice isn't prevailing here in the courts today. Ignorance is, weed isn't free yet. It's not the weed that needs to be free. It's us, the people. Our rights are being denied. It's the people that need to be freed. Free the people. That's what that freaking chant should be. Because to be fair, like, it's not weed that is restricted. It's us, the people. They're restricting our rights, our bodily integrity, our freedom of travel, our freedom of privacy. It's just messed up. Bobby says, I think Germany will help your cause. No doubt it is. All the movements across Europe, it's certainly increasing the argument there for it. But policymakers, they just don't want to engage in the argument around it. So until they actually engage properly, honestly, in the argument around it, it's just not going to help just yet. Not to the level that we want it anyway. But will it speed up the conversation happening? Fingers crossed it does. Yeah, we the people again, bang on, says Humble Gardener 420. Yes, we the people. That's I say every time we go to courts, every time we accept these decisions, our rights are being denied. Apparently our rights aren't important enough to be able to argue here. That there is no case, point in law, whatever it's called, to bring this to the High Court, and through these fucking acts of civil disobedience. Unless maybe there's a barrister out there who's willing to fucking entertain that. It's too late now for me, but maybe somebody else can take that approach. So guys and girls, everybody, thanks very much for checking in. Thanks for the support. Like, subscribe, share it around, tell people about the cause, the campaign, tell them learn about activism and what's been done so far in Ireland, and to get involved. The more people that get involved in this, the more people that stand up to these laws, the better. Yeah, I'll take a little break, Bobby, and get myself better and regroup. Yeah, it's been nice. There's been a chat happening there with the old members of the CAA. So that's been nice. Just where my head's been at for the last little bit with the epilepsy just kind of acting up. Haven't been on fully active with them, but it's nice to see it's happening anyway. Much love back to yourself, Humble Gardener, nice one. And OE420 says, like I said, the dial will so-called talk again in October. Watch the clowns push it back more. Stay strong, bro. Nice one, OE. I'll stay strong. But yeah, I don't disagree with you there. They'll kick that can down the road if they get the opportunity to. So everybody, catch you all later. Have a nice day. Have a nice weekend. Almost the 420. Keep an eye out there. I think there's something happening above in Dublin. There was one of the guys there threw up an event over on Facebook. Not seeing much publicity around it or promotion of it. But as I say, there is an event up there apparently. I think it's for Phoenix Park or else Stephen's Green. Can't remember exactly, but fingers crossed, more events, more protests get organised for that on 420. And the old Easter eggs, no doubt there'll be plenty of them floating around as well. A long weekend for 420 too. That doesn't happen too often. So everybody, catch you all later. Have a nice evening. Have a nice weekend. Peace. Stay blessed.